I'm Mark Nakamus. I am the father of Camille and Rebecca Nakamus. They had told me about the novel Tea Party, but I'm a teacher, so I'm teaching at the moment. So even though I can't be there in person, I'm here via video. So it's good to be part of the novel Tea Party, and I have my cup, my copy of Fault in Our Stars, so I'm ready to talk about it. Now, one thing Camille and Rebecca said that we had to prepare a table. And you can see my table. It's not a table, it's nothing. And that idea of nothingness is prevalent in The Fault in Our Stars. It's not just a book about Hazel Grace and Augustus Waters falling in love, dying young, and being afflicted with cancer. This idea of nothingness runs throughout the book, and it takes the form of the philosophy of nihilism. What nihilism is, it's an idea that there's no meaning in the world, that the world is void of any religious or moral principles, that it's in essence meaningless. So we can see one instance of this idea of nihilism, of nothingness, in the character of Hazel Grace. This is on the bottom of page 12 onto the top of page 13. I have the paperback version. There will come a time, I said, when all of us are dead, all of us. There will come a time when there are no human beings remaining to remember that anyone ever existed or that our species ever did anything. Everything that we did and built and wrote and thought and discovered will be forgotten. And all of this will have been for naught. So that's a pretty good example, pretty good definition of what nihilism is. Another one comes, this is on page 68, so we're still at the beginning of the book. We're having these ideas being presented. Now on page 68, this is when the reader is introduced to the novel inside of the novel, which is a very clever technique by the author, an imperial affliction, which is a book about nothing. It doesn't even end. So this is after Hazel Grace and Augustus are talking, and given the final futility of our struggle, is the fleeting jolt of meaning that art gives us valuable, or is the only value in passing the time as comfortably as possible? Of course, like all interrogation of the universe, this line of inquiry inevitably reduces us to asking what it means to be human. So you can see again, this is this idea of nothingness, of nihilism, and here we have it being presented by the author Van Houten in his book, An Imperial Affliction. So as the novel progresses, Gus and Hazel Grace travel to Amsterdam to meet this idol of theirs. Their hero, this author, is an alcoholic. His brain has become like Swiss cheese. He's really obnoxious and scornful, and they really have their spirits crushed by their idol. But they do their best to make this trip to Amsterdam, to Europe, something of meaning instead of nothing. So they visit the Anne Frank Museum, which is and the house that Anne Frank actually lived in. So they go about and they tour the house. So here they have an opportunity to see another life that was cut short. And here again, so this is on page 201, and this is Hazel Grace. For Aaron Franks, without museums, without historical markers, without anyone to mourn them, I silently resolved to remember and pray for the 4 Aaron Franks as long as I was around. Maybe some people need to believe in a proper and omnipotent God to pray, but I don't. Wow. Do y'all see what's happening here? We're starting to see a change in the character of Hazel Grace. Very slowly, very gradually through the course of the novel, and as she accumulates experiences, that she slowly starts to realize that life is not nothing, that there's some really great things about life as we go through it. And in case you're wondering, This growth in Hazel Grace's character continues. So now let's fast forward through the death of Augustus, and we're at his funeral. And this is on page 273. He didn't mention mansions and harp. He, of course, is Gus, but did believe in capital S something. And so I tried to imagine him capital S somewhere as we prayed. But even then, I could not quite convince myself that he and I would be together again. Now, did you notice there? We went from nothing to something, a capital S something. But still, at the same time, Hazel Grace is still forming. Her character is still developing, still developing. Fast forward a little bit more. We're almost at the end of the book now. And this is when her parents surprise her with a picnic. So they go to the picnic and they sit down, and this is on page 307. You could hear the wind and the leaves, and on that wind traveled the screams of the kids on the playground in the distance, the little kids figuring out how to be alive, how to navigate a world that was not built for them by navigating a playground that was. Dad saw me watching the kids and said, "You miss running around like that?" Sometimes, I guess. But that wasn't what I was thinking. I was just trying to notice everything. The light on the ruined ruins. This little kid who could barely walk discovering a stick in the corner of the playground. My indefatigable mother zigzagging mustard across her turkey sandwich. My dad patting his handheld in his pocket and resisting the urge to check it. A guy throwing a frisbee that his dog kept running under and catching and returning to him. Who am I to say that these things might not be forever? Who is Peter Van Horten to assert as fact the conjecture that our labor is temporary? All I know of heaven and all I know of death is in this park, an elegant universe in ceaseless motion, teeming with ruined ruins and screaming children. So, what happens with Hazel Grace? She comes to a new understanding. She realizes that life is not about nothing, that life is about something. That something can be as simple as appreciating the beauty that surrounds us. That something can be as wonderful as love that's shared between two people. We see that between Augustus and Hazel Grace. It can be something in the love that's shared between parents and children. So wow, what a great book. This awakening, this epiphany in Hazel Grace as she moves from nothing away from nihilism and embraces the capital S something in the world. So I've had a lot of fun being here with y'all. Sorry I couldn't be in person. And I guess that's about it. Okay? Okay.